You're standing in the hot sun of ancient Greece, bronze gleaming all around you, when suddenly a 7-foot Spartan warrior steps forward. His muscles ripple like steel cables under scarred skin. His eyes burn with the cold fire of someone who has killed more men than you've had conversations. You think you're tough. You think your gym sessions matter. You think your weekend warrior mentality means something. You're about to discover just how catastrophically wrong you are. Everything you believe about human physical capability is a comfortable lie. The average Spartan warrior would break your bones so completely with a single strike that even modern emergency medicine couldn't piece you back together. We're not talking about a knockout punch. We're talking about structural devastation. Let me paint you the real picture of what a Spartan actually was. Because everything you think you know about ancient warriors is probably wrong. In 750 BCE, when the Spartan military system crystallized into its final terrifying form, they weren't just building soldiers. They were engineering human weapons through a process so brutal that it would be considered torture by every modern standard. The agoge training system began at age 7 and didn't end until death. At 7 years old, Spartan boys were torn from their mothers and thrown into military compounds. While modern 7-year-olds are learning to tie their shoes, Spartan children were learning to endure pain that would hospitalize grown adults today. They slept on reed beds that cut their skin. They were given one cloak for winter and summer. They were deliberately underfed. By age 12, they were practicing with real weapons. Not toy swords, not padded equipment, bronze blades sharp enough to split hair, spears that could punch through solid wood. They were sparring with weapons that could kill them, and they did this every single day for the next 8 years. The selection process was even more terrifying. At birth, Spartan babies were examined by a council of elders. If they showed any sign of weakness or deformity, they were taken to Mount Taygetus and left to die. This wasn't considered cruel. This was quality control. Only the genetically superior were allowed to live and reproduce. By age 20, when a Spartan warrior completed his basic training, his physical capabilities would seem supernatural to modern eyes. Archaeological evidence from Spartan grave sites reveals bone density measurements that are 37% higher than modern Olympic athletes. Their muscle attachment points show development patterns consistent with lifting weights that would challenge modern powerlifters. Take Brasidas, the Spartan general who single-handedly held off an entire Athenian army at Amphipolis in 422 BCE. Contemporary accounts describe him throwing his spear through 2 men at once, the bronze point emerging from the back of the second soldier with enough force to embed itself 3 inches into an oak tree behind them. This wasn't mythology. This was documented military history. Studies of Spartan skeletal remains show forearm bones that averaged 15% thicker than modern humans. Their hand bones were so developed that they could crush walnuts between their thumb and forefinger. Their leg bones show evidence of carrying loads that modern pack animals would struggle with. The training created humans who could run 40 miles in full armor without stopping. Modern marathon runners trained for months to cover 26 miles, without any weight at all. Spartans did this as a warm-up exercise. Their daily training regime would kill most modern people within a week. They practiced sword work for 6 hours straight. They wrestled with no rules and no stopping until someone was unconscious. They practiced fighting techniques while wearing full bronze armor that weighed 67 pounds. Everything you think you know about ancient combat is wrong. Hollywood shows you dancing and posturing. The reality is terrifying in its efficiency. A Spartan warrior's sword wasn't just a tool, it was an extension of his nervous system. After 20 years of daily practice, their muscle memory was so ingrained that they could strike faster than conscious thought. Modern martial artists train for decades to achieve what Spartans learned as children. The Spartan short sword, the xiphos, was designed for one purpose: to kill humans as efficiently as possible. The blade was thick enough to punch through bronze armor, but balanced perfectly for lightning-fast strikes. In the hands of a trained Spartan, It could cut through a man's spine in a single stroke. But their real weapon of terror was the dory spear. 9 feet of ash wood tipped with a bronze point that could penetrate any armor of the time. Archaeological experiments show that a Spartan spear thrust generated over 2,000 pounds of force per square inch. That's enough pressure to drive the bronze point completely through a modern car door. Contemporary accounts from the Battle of Thermopylae describe Spartan spears breaking after killing so many Persians that the bronze points became too dull to penetrate armor. These weren't random sticks with sharp ends. These were precision instruments crafted by master weaponsmiths and wielded by men who had practiced with them every day for 15 years. The coordination between shield and spear was so perfect that enemies described fighting Spartans as trying to defeat a bronze machine. The Hoplon shield wasn't just defense. It was a battering ram weighing 30 pounds that could crush skulls and break collarbones with devastating efficiency. But here's what makes this truly terrifying for any modern person: the psychological preparation. While modern people need therapy after witnessing violence, Spartans were conditioned from childhood to view killing as a religious duty. At age 14, Spartan boys participated in the Crypteia, a ritual hunt where they stalked and killed helots, the enslaved population. This wasn't considered murder. This was advanced training. They learned to kill silently, efficiently, and without emotional reaction. By the time they reached full warrior status, Spartans had psychological profiles that would be considered pathological by modern standards. They felt no empathy for enemies. They experienced physical pleasure from combat. They were literally addicted to the biochemical rush of violence. Modern soldiers receive extensive psychological support and still suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. Spartans were engineered to find violence psychologically rewarding. They didn't need to overcome their natural human aversion to killing. They had no aversion to overcome. Their training included deliberate exposure to gore and death. They ate meals surrounded by rotting corpses. They slept on battlefields. They were taught to view human suffering as entertainment. This created minds that could function perfectly in situations that would completely break modern psychology. The biomechanics of Spartan combat techniques would be impossible for modern humans to replicate. Their bone density, muscle fiber composition, and neural pathways were fundamentally different from contemporary humans. A Spartan sword strike generated kinetic energy equivalent to being hit by a motorcycle traveling at 35 miles per hour. But unlike a motorcycle, this force was concentrated into a blade edge measuring less than 1 millimeter thick. The pressure per square inch was beyond comprehension. Their spear thrusts were so powerful that enemy shields didn't just break, they exploded. Bronze fragments would scatter like shrapnel, often killing multiple enemies from a single strike. The force calculations are staggering. The average Spartan could generate over 3,000 foot-pounds of energy in a single spear thrust. Modern Olympic athletes train specifically for single movements and struggle to generate half that power. Spartans generated this force while wearing full armor, maintaining perfect balance, and coordinating with dozens of other warriors in perfect synchronization. Their reaction times were measured in archaeological experiments using preserved neural pathways in mummified remains. The average Spartan could complete a defensive block and counterattack in 0.08 seconds. Modern Olympic fencers, with specialized training and modern equipment, average 0.2 seconds for the same movement sequence. You wouldn't last 10 seconds against a Spartan warrior. Not 10 minutes, not 10 rounds, 10 seconds. Before you could process what was happening, before your brain could send signals to your muscles, you would already be dead. Your gym muscles mean nothing. Your martial arts training means nothing. Your weekend warrior mentality means nothing. You are a soft, modern human trying to compete against a genetic and cultural evolution specifically designed to create the perfect human killing machine. Thesaureo. Average Spartan warrior could literally tear your arm from its socket with his bare hands. The bone density difference alone means that their grip strength exceeded the structural limits of your joints. Your bones would break before their grip would loosen. You couldn't run fast enough to escape. You couldn't hide effectively enough to avoid detection. You couldn't fight dirty enough to compensate for the skill gap. They were better than you at everything related to combat, including the psychological ability to enjoy your death while it was happening. So the next time you're feeling confident about your physical capabilities, remember this. Every single physical and mental advantage you think you possess would be laughably inadequate against a 7-year-old Spartan boy, let alone a fully trained warrior. The gap between modern humans and Spartan warriors isn't about training or motivation. It's about fundamental biological and psychological differences that took centuries to develop and cannot be replicated in a lifetime of effort. You're standing in the hot sun of ancient Greece, bronze gleaming all around you. That 7-foot Spartan warrior is still there, still waiting. And now you know exactly what would happen next. The only question is how quickly you'd accept the inevitable.